Trump Tower is not just a building. For decades, it has stood on New York's prestigious Fifth Avenue as a gleaming, 68-story monument to one man's brand, Donald J. Trump. Since it opened its doors in 1983, its brass and marble atrium, complete with a cascading indoor waterfall, has been a beacon of 1980s luxury and ambition. It was the backdrop for his reality television show, The Apprentice, where he famously declared, "You're fired," to a new generation of viewers. It was the headquarters of his sprawling business empire and, for a time, his home. More than just steel and glass, it became an instantly recognizable symbol of wealth, power, and the art of the deal. This tower was meticulously crafted to project an image of untouchable success. It was the crown jewel in a real estate portfolio that spanned the globe, a physical embodiment of the Trump name. Tourists would flock to its public spaces, hoping for a glimpse into a world of extravagant opulence. It housed luxury apartments, high-end retail stores, and the corporate offices of the Trump Organization. When Donald Trump descended its famous golden escalator in 2015 to announce his presidential candidacy, the building was cemented in the public imagination, not just as a business hub, but as a political launchpad. It was, in every sense, the center of his universe. But a symbol's meaning can change. What once represented soaring financial success now stands at the center of a legal storm that threatens the very foundation of the empire it represents. The same building that projected an image of limitless wealth is now a focal point in a narrative about financial accountability. The story of Trump Tower has taken a dramatic turn, shifting from a tale of construction and branding to one of legal judgments and consequences. The gleaming brass on its doors now reflects a much harsher reality, one dictated not by a developer's vision, but by the unwavering hand of the law. The battle for this building is about more than just money or real estate. It is a battle over the narrative that Donald Trump spent a lifetime constructing. The New York Attorney General, Letitia James, is not just targeting a property. She is targeting the very heart of the Trump mythos. The seizure of this iconic skyscraper represents a powerful public statement that the rules of finance and law apply to everyone, regardless of their fame or the height of their buildings. It is a stunning development in a saga that has captivated and divided the nation, turning a symbol of personal triumph into a potential monument to a legal downfall. The legal troubles that have engulfed Trump Tower stem from a civil fraud lawsuit brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Her office launched a meticulous investigation into the financial practices of Donald Trump and the Trump Organization, and what they claimed to have found was a pattern of deception that spanned more than a decade. The central accusation was simple, that Trump and his company had systematically and intentionally inflated the value of their assets on financial statements. These weren't minor miscalculations. They were wildly exaggerated figures used to secure more favorable terms on loans and insurance policies, saving the company hundreds of millions of dollars. The examples laid out in court were as audacious as they were specific. Take, for instance, the triplex apartment atop Trump Tower, where Donald Trump himself resided. For years, his financial statements listed the apartment as being 30,000 square feet, a colossal size for a New York City residence. In reality, the apartment is approximately 11,000 square feet, less than half the size he claimed. This single exaggeration inflated its value by as much as $200 million. It was a fiction, but a very profitable one. This wasn't just a rounding error. The judge found it to be clear evidence of an intent to deceive. This pattern of exaggeration extended far beyond his personal residence. His Mar-a-Lago club in Florida, for example, was valued as if it could be sold as a private home, ignoring legal restrictions that limited its use to a social club. This boosted its stated value to astronomical heights, sometimes reaching over $700 million when appraisers suggested it was worth a fraction of that amount. Similarly, the value of golf clubs was inflated based on projected income that never materialized, and the size of undeveloped land was misrepresented. The prosecution argued this was a deliberate strategy, a bait and switch in which lenders were shown one reality while another existed. After a lengthy trial, a New York judge agreed with the Attorney General. The court found Donald Trump, his adult sons, and his company liable for persistent and repeated fraud. The judge determined that these were not innocent mistakes, but a calculated scheme to manipulate their net worth to their financial advantage. The verdict came with a staggering penalty, a judgment that, with accumulating interest, has now soared to over $450 million. It was a clear and powerful rebuke, a legal declaration that the numbers on paper must reflect reality, and that using imaginary figures to get real money is against the law. When a court issues a massive financial judgment, the person or entity who owes the money is legally obligated to pay. Typically, they can either pay the full amount in cash, or, if they wish to appeal the decision, they must secure something called an appeal bond. A bond is essentially a guarantee from a third-party company, a surety, that they will cover the full debt if the appeal fails. In this case, Donald Trump's lawyers revealed that they had approached over 30 different surety companies, but were unable to secure a bond for the nearly $500 million judgment. The companies were reportedly unwilling to accept his real estate properties as collateral, a stunning rejection for a man who built his entire reputation on the value of his buildings. Without the ability to pay the judgment or secure a bond, the next step in the legal process is asset seizure. This is where the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, gains the power to take control of Donald Trump's properties to satisfy the debt owed to the state. The process isn't like a scene from a movie where agents dramatically storm a building overnight. Instead, it is a methodical and deliberate legal procedure. It begins with the filing of judgments in the counties where Trump owns property, effectively placing a lien on those assets. This means he cannot sell or refinance them until the debt is paid. From there, the Attorney General has several options. She can move to freeze his bank accounts, diverting any cash directly to the state. She can also begin the process of taking physical control of his properties, like Trump Tower. This could involve seizing rent payments from the building's commercial and residential tenants, essentially redirecting the building's income stream away from the Trump Organization and toward paying off the judgment. The state could even appoint a receiver to manage the property. The most drastic step would be to force a sale of the building through a sheriff's auction, with the proceeds going to satisfy the debt. The seizure of a property as complex as Trump Tower is a complicated affair. The building is not a single simple asset. It is a web of different ownership structures, with retail spaces, condominium units owned by others, and existing mortgages that must be navigated. This means the process will likely be a long, drawn-out legal battle, as officials untangle the intricate finances to determine exactly what can be taken and sold. However, the legal authority is clear. The inability to pay the court-ordered penalty has triggered a process where the state can now begin to dismantle parts of a real estate empire to collect what it is owed. The seizure of assets, particularly a flagship property like Trump Tower, sends shockwaves far beyond just one man. For Donald Trump personally, it is a devastating blow to both his finances and his carefully curated public image. A brand built on the perception of immense wealth and business acumen is now publicly associated with staggering debt and the inability to meet financial obligations. This fundamentally challenges the core of his identity. For his family, particularly his sons, who were also found liable in the fraud case and are deeply involved in running the company, it represents an existential threat to their professional lives and the future of the family business they were poised to inherit. For the Trump Organization, the consequences are immediate and severe. With the Attorney General empowered to seize assets and freeze accounts, the company's ability to conduct normal business is crippled. How can you pay employees, manage properties, or secure new deals when your bank accounts could be emptied at any moment and your properties are encumbered with massive liens? The judgment not only drains the company of its liquidity, but also makes it nearly impossible to borrow money in the future. Lenders are unlikely to extend credit to an organization found liable for massive fraud, especially when its primary assets are being targeted for seizure by the state. This could push the company toward a forced fire sale of properties at discounted prices, further eroding its value. The impact of this case extends well beyond the Trump family and their immediate business interests. It serves as a stark warning to the entire business community, especially in the high-stakes world of real estate and finance. The verdict sends a clear message that truth in accounting is not an optional guideline. For years, some developers may have viewed inflating asset values as a common, if aggressive, business practice, part of the game. This case shatters that perception. It establishes a powerful legal precedent that such practices constitute fraud and will be prosecuted with severe financial penalties. Other executives and companies are undoubtedly reviewing their own financial statements with their lawyers right now. This episode forces a broader reckoning within the financial industry, It highlights the responsibility of banks, insurance companies, and accounting firms to perform their own due diligence and not simply take a client's stated net worth at face value. The court's decision implicitly criticizes the institutions that enabled these inflated valuations by lending money against them. The ripple effect, therefore, is one of increased scrutiny and decreased tolerance for ambiguity in financial reporting. The fall of this one tower could lead to fundamental changes in how business is conducted across the entire industry, making it harder for anyone to build an empire on a foundation of exaggerated numbers. At its core, the saga of Trump Tower and the massive fraud judgment is about a foundational principle of American democracy, that no one, regardless of their wealth, fame, or political power, is above the law. This idea is easy to state, but often difficult to enforce, especially when dealing with individuals who have vast resources to challenge the legal system. The case brought by the New York Attorney General is a powerful real-world test of this principle. It demonstrates that the rules that apply to an ordinary citizen applying for a car loan also apply to a billionaire securing financing for a skyscraper. Fairness demands that the law be applied equally to all. The legal system is designed to be a great equalizer, a place where facts and evidence matter more than status. The fraud case against Donald Trump put this ideal to the test. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence, internal documents, emails, and testimony from former employees, to argue that the Trump Organization had knowingly deceived financial institutions. The defense argued that these were standard business practices, and that the banks did their own research. In the end, the judge sided with the evidence, concluding that a deliberate and illegal scheme had taken place. This outcome reinforces public trust in the judiciary by showing that the courts can and will hold even the most powerful figures accountable. For the average person, this story carries a crucial lesson about integrity and accountability. It shows that while it may seem that the rich and powerful play by a different set of rules, those rules can eventually catch up with them. When a government agency successfully prosecutes a case of this magnitude, it sends a deterrent message to others who might be tempted to cut corners or engage in fraudulent behavior. It affirms that our society is governed by laws, not by powerful personalities. The sight of a state preparing to seize the crown jewel of a famous billionaire's empire is a visceral reminder that actions have consequences. Ultimately, the seizure of Trump Tower is more than just the story of one man's financial and legal troubles. It is a reaffirmation of a core American value. A fair and just society depends on the consistent application of its laws, without fear or favor. This case, with its dramatic twists and monumental stakes, will be remembered as a moment when the legal system was called upon to prove its impartiality. The lesson is not one of revenge or political victory, but one of simple, profound fairness. The rules are the rules, and they are meant for everyone. The fall of an empire, in this context, is the triumph of a principle.